Thought I wanted to go over this this article I saw today. I wanted to preface it by saying I've as a real estate agent, I've worked with plenty of investors in the past, and I don't feel any sort of shame for that. And I don't think that the investors I worked with were bad in any way for what they were doing. I think that I think that somehow the economy has changed, though. I don't believe that there were big Wall Street bankers and backers investing in single-family homes back when we were doing it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it was on the scale that it is now. And when I read articles that say, investor or institutional home ownership is so small of a percentage of the overall homes, it doesn't matter. I've read that, and I've been quite suspect, because just what I see out in the marketplace leads me to believe that some things like really wrong. And I do see now investing like the massive investors or the large investors, and it's much more sophisticated than it ever was when we did it. Now it's not uncommon for someone to buy a house in a neighborhood, then have his friend buy a house in the neighborhood, and then they buy 4 more houses in the neighborhood, and just basically just run up the prices of the homes. So it's much more predatory. It's much more dirty, in my opinion, than it used to be. But I did want to put that out there to start, because I don't want you to have any illusions that I don't work with investors or anything like that. So let's get into the article here. I thought this was one of the more fascinating articles, and I think which should really give us pause, all of us, as to this homeownership crisis and what's really going on. The headline: investors bought more than half of all homes sold last year in these 21 DFW zip codes. So this is in Dallas-Fort Worth. Investors bought more than half of all the homes sold in 21 zip codes. That's a massive number of homes. And so let me get over here and go down here. It says, according to data from the real estate research firm CoreLogic, nearly 1 out of every 3 homes sold in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in August was bought by an investor. According to a CBS 11 News analysis of data from CoreLogic, last year investors purchased more than 50% of all homes sold in 21 zip codes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now look, I mean, we've got this massive issue right now where people say that we need to just build more homes, okay? We need to build more single-family homes. If we just build more homes, the prices will go down. So it's a supply issue. And I've said, along with others, that it's not a supply issue, in the sense, who do you know that, like, of your 5 friends, do any of them not own 2 houses or more? It's basically investors have just massively purchased homes, and everyone's become an investor. Now, I'm not here to look down on people or anything like that. Whatever you want to do is fine. But I think that it's gotten to the point where easy money has allowed, and easy money being, interest rates in the 2s and the 3s, has caused a massive, a massive have versus have-nots. Those that can afford a mortgage, okay, are crushing people who could have afforded a mortgage when prices were lower, but now have no shot at many of these homes. It says then they have a quote from an investor. It says, this is prime time for these areas to gentrify. Now, gentrification is not great if you live in the neighborhood, right? They're pushing you out. And so it says Joe Boston, a mid-sized home investor. Boston currently owns 17 properties, many on the east side of Fort Worth. While large corporate investors often keep properties as rentals, Boston typically buys a property, then flips it. Right? So does it make a difference if large corporations are buying single-family homes and renting them out? To me, the answer is no. It's the same thing. He says, I think we are one of the saviors of communities. A lot of the time we are frowned upon because of the profit, but we are behind the scenes improving these neighborhoods. And what do you expect this fellow to say? I'm a terrible person, and I'm happily raising the prices of homes for everyone. Do you really expect him to say that? No. Come on. So, 17 properties. Let's keep that in mind. Earlier this year at the U.S. Senate hearing, Democratic lawmakers called out large corporate investors for gobbling up homes during the pandemic, especially in minority neighborhoods. Now, look, it doesn't matter where they're gobbling up homes, okay? You don't need to look at it as a minority thing. You can look at it simply as people can only afford so much, and they typically move to places where they can afford. And if they can't afford those places, they don't move there, but they have nowhere else to go. So it says lawmakers testified in some cases homes bought by corporate investors could have gone to first-time homebuyers, helping to close the racial homeownership gap. Well, let's not, again, don't worry about the racial homeownership gap. Homes bought by corporate investors could have gone to first-time homebuyers. And that's the issue is, look, if it's truly a supply issue, and they talk about it being affordable homes, there's no affordable homes. Well, what's happening is the guys go in, they fix these houses up. There's nothing wrong with fixing the house up and selling it for a profit, okay? That's been done for 100 years in real estate. The scale and the scope of what's going on is what's never been seen before. For instance, of the 21 zip codes in North Texas where investors accounted for more than 50% of home sales, 20 of the 21 are in majority Black or Hispanic neighborhoods based on U.S. Census data. And so, I don't have a solution to this issue, okay? I think it's going to weed itself out as interest rates make it impossible for even investors to purchase single-family homes. A lot of people are calling for a crash in the market. I don't see a crash in the market. And part of the reason is because of what we see here. We see that when prices get to a certain point in any neighborhood, the investors swoop in like locusts, They will come in and they will fix and flip homes all day long. You may say, well, appraisers won't allow that to happen. The banks aren't going to allow it. No, they are all part of it. And I'm not criticizing appraisers or anything else. But if you think that an appraiser is going to stop an appraisal, that's not how appraisals work. It's not how appraisals work. So, again, I don't want to vilify, everyone. Okay. But I'm just seeing this massive. And look, during the pandemic, I had a house listed for sale. The first offer was from BlackRock, or a subsidiary of BlackRock. I mean, massive home purchases occurred, and they're still. And while they may have backed off a little bit, the local investor. I mean, we talk about this small mom and pop investor. That guy there owns 17 houses. Okay, and how many other mom and pop places own 50, 100 houses in a particular area? It's very problematic. And I think that at some point in time, we need to take a look at this and say, what's going on here? Throw the race out of it. Just look at economics. If you have a family, any color family, that goes and both parents work, can't afford a house anywhere in the city except for the most awful areas, that's not good for the population. It's a problem within the community at that point, right? We can't build strong communities when we can't have people living in the homes that can't afford the homes they're living in. So I just want you to maybe notice that when somebody says that investors only own a small amount of all the single family homes in the United States, I think it's wrong. I mean, even in this space here, 21 zip codes, more than 50% of the homes purchased. That is not a small amount of homes. With that, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.